Good evening, Master. Good evening, Mr. Norton Channel. Thank you very much. I start by thank you very much for the training with the Quanning technique that here in the spiritual plane we consider quite successful, where we could touch people's hearts, and I am sure some will even change, as it is already happening. Right, Master? Right. Very well. So, the first step has already been taken, and through this healing technique, we will obtain the necessary disclosure for our works to start, let us say, touch people's hearts. And for that, you too will receive invitations to spread the technique works, and I also hope you enjoy it and disseminate not only the technique itself, but the entire message of the members of the Fraternity of Light, okay? Very well, gentlemen. I have been following the two of you. Our friend Norton channel begins little by little, trying to study our books, the books that Master Tanaka showed, and that is the way. The way is to go little by little, gaining knowledge of our experiences, because you will also walk on the same road, so to speak. So there are two main ways to learn. One is learning from the experience of others, and the other is learning from our own experience. Evidently, learning from others' experiences, the way, let's us say, is less painful in some case. Therefore, learning from others' experience, let us say, is much more beneficial. It may not be as profound, and it is much more beneficial because you do not suffer the pains that the others suffered. So, this is the idea of the evolution of humanity. It is important that you study. Do the study of what we have already gone through during our incarnations, our experience, and that from there evolve into a more advanced level, let us say, okay? To Master Tanaka, I say that it is important, yes, Master, to revisit the teachings of our beloved Master Jesus, not necessarily his teachings, but what is written in the Bible, which is reference for many people, many Christians. Considering that Brazil is a land of Christians majority. Therefore, to understand them, it is necessary to study what they stood, right? Therefore, as we intend to reach mainly the Christian audience, to make the necessary corrections in what they know today, it is important to understand and study what they stood, to have the proper arguments so that we can make corrections. So, what was written in the Bible and which has, let us say, escaped the goal that Jesus intended to pass on as his message needs to be corrected, but always citing the cases which is written in the Bible. Therefore, it is important to have knowledge of the content of the Bible, even knowing that it is not 100% of the truth. Okay, Master? Because, as I have been telling you, many questions will be asked of you and questions based on what is written in the Bible, okay? Therefore, we needed to know the content, and it will also be interesting because Master Tanaka already has knowledge of the content of the letters of Christ. So, naturally, a comparison will be made between what is in the Bible and what was actually said. What was the intention of our Master Jesus in a few passages, and you will see that the difference is great between what is in the Bible and what Jesus actually said and intended to convey to mankind at that time. So, it must be understood that, first, a distortion has already been made between what Jesus preached and what was written in the Bible. There is already a big distortion of reality, and there is a second distortion, which is of what is written in the Bible and what is being preached by the religious leaders. There, the distance is even greater from the word of Jesus. Therefore, for sure, Master, these corrections that are needed, they are huge, they are big. As I have already mentioned it a few times, that cordless phone issue, where Jesus said something, the disciples understood something else, the writers recorded something else in the Bible, then there were all those councils that also modified the content a little, and then yet today's religious leaders use knowledge of the words written in the Bible for other purpose, far from the goals that Christ aspired to. Particular goals, individual, egocentric, and many other adjectives that we can mention. It will be an arduous task because we will have to do this rereading. So, to speak of the words of Jesus Christ without, however, hurting any feelings of our brothers, religious leaders. So, again, I mentioned that you must be careful, very tactful, very subtle in dealing with these leaders. Surely, they will already have negative preconceptions about you, okay? So, you must be very careful and go, as you say, eating around the edges, so that they understand that your real intention is solely the spiritual evolution of humanity. This is the focus. Of course, this will be far from the preaching of these religious leaders, but it is important that they feel in you the good intention, the intention to evolve humanity, the intention that is above all. The word escapes me now. Of any egocentric goal, private goals of yours. This is quite a big challenge, Master. So I mention again that it is important that you differentiate from them in thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and actions. Therefore, levitation actions are important because of this point. This is important because it will give the vision that you are people blessed by God, with powers given by God to you to change this sense, these concepts that were passed. Therefore, focused again, Master, on our main goal of our meeting, which is to help you do the meditation so that levitation is activated. The feeling of already levitate is important. The thought in the action of levitating. The feeling of already levitate will help you, will be fundamental for the action. This is how it happens for all things. The things that one wants to conquer must be thought about, felt, and so this becomes an action. So, Master, the thought that you are going to levitate is important that it be, let us say, hammered into your mental bodies as a first step. Then look for something in the material plane that makes you feel the levitation. Feel what it is like to be levitating. Some examples are floating on water. If you float on water, you will feel something very close to what it is like to levitate. And with that, you can focus on that feeling. When the meditation is being done, feel that sensation of float in the water. Go search there in your thoughts, in your memories, what this sensation of floating is like. And this will then register in your mind and will make a levitation closer and closer to reality. Until a certain point during meditation, you will be able to practice levitation. Our friend Channel, our friend Norton, has already gone through some interest actions on floating in the air. Feel that same sensation of what it was like to float in the air. For Master Tanaka to have the same, to know what we are talking about, Master, we accompanied and even induced our friend to parachute sometimes, to float in the windpipe sometimes, and that brought this feeling of what it's like to be flying, let us say. So this feeling of flying associated with the feeling of floating on water must be brought back during the meditations, so that one is as close as possible to levitation. Keep meditating, keep doing your morning, evening, night meditations, and more you can do, the better. And you go little by little experiencing these feelings, looking for these feelings of floating in the water, in the sea. Form the feeling of levitation within your mental bodies, and do not be afraid if one day you are naturally levitating in your office, in your house. Take it easy with your mind completely empty, with the feeling of lightness of being in the clouds with the beings of light. The thoughts must be light. Our bodies must be vibrating lightly for that to happen. It is natural that you are under pressure of yourself to achieve levitation, but I tell you, the more pressure there is, the less likely you are to do levitation. The pressure is a load, so to speak, a heavy load on your body that takes you down, that does not allow you to levitate. Therefore, Master, it is important that you do not focus on the pressure, do not focus on the need to levitate within a certain time frame. Forget the deadlines, forget the pressure, give yourself only to the levitation and the feeling of floating, and then naturally it will come to you. And an even bigger challenge will be to keep these feelings in front of a large audience, in front of a large audience with different energies and different noises that will distract your thoughts and mix your feelings. So it is especially important to train. Train for a long time after reaching levitation. It is not by reaching levitation that you will already be able to prove levitation to many people, as you will be unprepared to do levitation in crowds. Therefore, you must hold the ego and train the mind a lot to automate this feeling that leads to levitation, okay? We hope, Master, that with these messages, you can take this issue of levitation one step further. We will always be by your side, always intuiting you, just as we did this week with our friend Northern Channel. It is absolutely true that floating in water helps a lot to mentalize, to feel the levitation, okay? We will always be with you, never forget that. Was I clear in my messages, Master? Yes, I understood. Okay, any questions? No. Very well, master. Very well, our friend Northern Channel. May you all have a great week. So be it. Thank God.